I just hit the go live now button, and so I think we're pretty much live. I'll check it on the on the iPad.
Okay.
But yeah, we're pretty much here. So we're like, yep, we're early.
Okay.
So I think that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Oh, I think earlier is better than late.
Well, you know what we could do because we have one email question. So while people are finding us, we can do this email question because they're probably going to see it in the archive anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So this is from someone, I think Jody. She says, or he or she says, "Hey Martin, I don't know a lot about ospreys. How are they different from eagles? I saw ospreys and eagles at Yankee Meadow. They don't seem to mingle much. LOL. But I have never seen them go after each other either or fight over food. I have had an osprey steal a caught fish right off the hook as my friend was reeling it in, though. Are they mean? I don't think I have seen you rescue one. They must be uber smarts. LOL. Thanks for all you do." Person
Okay.
laughs
Well,
a lot, apparently.
ospreys. Yeah, ospreys are they're in some ways kind of similar, and in some ways very different than eagles. Osprey are not an eagle. They're in their own kind of species. Ospreys, I believe that she's talking about. We have a lot of ospreys in the area around our lakes and reservoirs. Um, Many people mistake ospreys for the bald eagle. The bald eagle has a white head and a white tail. Ospreys can have a white head and a white tail as well. And But ospreys, the real identifying factor is bald eagles have a solid white head, and the ospreys have a black stripe that goes through the eye. And so you see the black stripe, it's an osprey. If the head is solid white, it's a bald eagle. Now here in southern Utah, um, generally the bald eagles are here in the wintertime. They're not here in the spring and summer when everybody sees the ospreys. And so people come up to me all the time and says, "Well, do you know about the bald eagle's nest at Duck Creek?" And I says, "Well, that's ospreys." What about the bald eagles at Yankee Meadows? Well, that's ospreys. Newcastle Reservoir, well, that's ospreys. And so we only have 17 nesting pairs of bald eagles in the state, and so are the bald eagles. So we have a lot more ospreys that nest in Utah than bald eagles. So the majority of the what's considered bald eagle sightings is osprey. Now ospreys will steal from each other if they're mingling with bald eagles that fish as well. They'll try to steal from the bald eagles. The bald eagles will try to steal from the ospreys. Basically, when you see like ravens and a raven gets something to eat, all the other ravens chase it around trying to steal from it. Well, ospreys will do the same thing um, to other ospreys and the bald eagles and vice versa. And so they do steal from each other. That's really quite common. Um, since the eagles are so much larger than the osprey, quite often that's a bad decision to try to steal from the eagles. But the eagles aren't as agile as the ospreys, so there's kind of a give and take there. As far as being mean, no, none of these animals are mean. These animals are wild, and mean is a human trait, so we never say that they're mean. Um, Trying to steal food is a survival tactic, um, and humans have been stealing food from wildlife. We've been doing that since the dawn of creation. So that's a survival technique to be able to steal.
So would you say fierce, not mean?
Uh, they can be fierce, especially when they're defending a territory, but more often than not, what they're trying to do is they're just trying to get food. And if they can steal from somebody else, they certainly will. And so they're only um, what you would consider territorial during the nesting season when they've got eggs and chicks,
Well,
which is this time.
what about like aggression, like when you had your horrible falcon?
Well, again, falcons are a lot more aggressive, and so the falcons, um, and they develop that, and again, it's a survival technique. They develop that with their parents, and the most violent and aggressive and loudest one always eats first. And so again, it's a survival technique to be uh, the most violent chick, and that means you're going to get more food than the one that's passive. And so it's not specifically I'm going to be mean. It's this is how I survive.
So do you get? I mean, is that a hard topic to cover? Because I know a lot of times when people are watching the webcams and they see where the siblings are either fighting with each other or one of them looks a little peaked. Is it hard to explain that? Well, sometimes it's hard on them that there's not a big survival rate. Do you answer that question a lot?
I do answer the question a lot. The truth of the matter is the worst thing that ever happened to wildlife was Walt Disney's movie Bambi. And the reason I say that is because Walt Disney basically gave animals human voices and human emotions. And in the process of giving them a human voice, it actually takes away their voice and their personalities and their lives. Um, you know, the truth of the matter is a cottontail rabbit and a great horned owl are not best friends. A great horned owl at every opportunity will kill and eat a cottontail rabbit. They're not friends. And and so when people try to put human emotions onto animals, they're very, very disappointed. Um, every year, especially with these eagle cams that are out right now, and you can go on the internet and search, eagle cams, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you can watch, which is wonderful. You can watch mom and dad eagle go from laying the eggs to raising the chicks and the whole 9 yards till the chicks are fledged and flying away. But every time there is a chick that is in distress, um, people get really, really upset, and they want somebody to help, and they contact me. I've had several phone calls this year from um, people in Florida who've been, and actually all over the country, but have been watching a nesting pair of eagles in Florida, and they've had several problems, and they want to, if I can go to Florida, 2,000 miles away, and rescue the chick that's in distress, and legally I really can't. Um, this is all governed by the Federal Fish and Wildlife Service and the State Fish and Game, and what we are allowed to do sometimes can be limited. And it also, the way the government looks at this is that 80% of all wild birds of prey don't survive the first year. And so going up and rescuing one, you're kind of interfering with the natural processes. Um, and as much as I would love to, rescue every single baby and basically go around, throughout southern Utah with all of my nesting sites that I've got and make sure there's plenty of food for everybody and all of the chicks raise up and all the chicks fledge properly. And I would love to dedicate my life to doing that. That is not legal. And so they don't want us to interfere. Now, if a chick ends up on the ground, then I'm called in and I can go rescue it. But I can't go into a nest and rescue a chick that's in distress. The federal government will not allow that to happen. Now, that's not to say that they never let that happen, because I've certainly seen situations where there's been an eagle cam and a chick is in distress, and there's enough public outcry that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the state fish and game, gets somebody to go up there and do whatever is necessary to save the chick. But in most cases, the government will not allow it. So it really is a tough situation, and then that refers back, hi kiddo, that refers back to what I do, period, which is the wildlife rescue. There are many people within the state and federal government that believe that wildlife rescue of any kind is biologically insignificant, and so you get an eagle hit by a car on the highway. Um, there are uh, quite a few people within the government that says, well, just leave it alone, let Mother Nature take its course. And that is not a suitable answer for most people. Most people want someone to go and help. And that's been my life's work, is to go and help these animals that are sick, injured, or orphaned. And and so there's a somewhat of a conflict between government agencies and wildlife rescue work. And this is one of the reasons that we do not receive a nickel of state or federal funding to care for these animals, because for the most part, the government sees my work as biologically insignificant, and they would prefer that I don't do what I do.
Well, speaking of funding, we got a donation and two messages from DM, and she sent along $10, and she has two messages here for us. The first one: Hi, Scout and Martin. I love watching you guys. I hope to get to see you two in real life once. Love from Amsterdam. And then also sent,
Thank you.
thank you for all that you do. I've just started being interested in birding. I hope I will get to see Scout and Martin in real life one day. Love from Amsterdam.
Well, thank you. I would, if you come over to the states, would love to have you drop by and say hi and show you some of the critters that we're working with. So please, you come to the states. Please give me a call, and I'll see if we can arrange an appointment for you to come and visit. And you know, that's the important part. It's every one of these donations goes directly to caring for the sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife. So we're very grateful for your donation. It means a lot. Now, just so that everybody understands, today is a very special day for Scout and I. Um, Today is our 17th anniversary. It was 17 years ago today. I was up in Wyoming rescuing Scout, and so we basically he was in a bad situation, and he needed to be removed from that situation. And so my sweet wife Susan and I, we drove up to Wyoming, and it took a week to get him trapped. And so we stayed up there for a week. My poor wife Susan, you know, this is really no fun. I mean, to basically sit out in the high deserts of Wyoming with binoculars searching for Scout and setting up a trapping station to catch him and bring him in. You know, one day is fine. 2 days are really boring. 3 days, my wife is about ready to just stay in the motel room and read books and relax. And after 5 days, it's she's talking about maybe she needs to get a bus from Wyoming and take a bus ride back down to Utah because we've been gone far too long. And fortunately, we were able to trap him, and and it's a very very extensive process to be able to do this. First of all, to get through the state and federal paperwork to do this, you're working with three government agencies. You're not only, or actually four. You're working with Wyoming Fish and Game. You're working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. You're working with the Department of Agriculture, and you're working with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, and the Utah State Veterinarian. And they all have to be online, and you all have paperwork to fill out, and you have to go through very specific procedures in order to do this and to bring Scout not only to legally trap him, but then to bring him in across state lines into Utah legally. And when you're dealing with the government, there are some government people that are happy to help, and that's wonderful. There's other government employees that want to have nothing to do with this project, and so we had to, once we were able to trap Scout and remove him from the situation, I had to take him about 50 miles to the nearest game warden who monitors that area, and check in with him and say, here's the eagle, we got him, and make sure it's fine. And then the closest state fish and game office um, was about, again, 50 miles the opposite direction. But the conservation officer that initially looked at Scout, I says, well, we're going to go over to the regional office and check in and get the paperwork signed and everything is fine. And he says, well, don't go to the nearest one because they've got somebody in that office that really is not going to be very cooperative with this kind of a project. And so what you need to do is you need to drive 200 miles an hour north to a different regional office to check in because they're much uh, more cooperative with working with this kind of a situation. And so again, in Wyoming, we couldn't just go to the nearest office. We had to go a couple of hundred miles out of our way, and we go a couple of hundred miles out of our way to the office, and we check in, and they everything was fine, and they were very happy, and got the paperwork signed, and everything was good. But then before I could come back into Utah, I had to get a health check by a veterinarian, and so I had to find a veterinarian in Wyoming that would at least even look at an eagle because there's not a lot of avian vets. And so I was finally able to contact a veterinarian. And you walk in the office and say, "Here's the eagle," and the vet looks at it and says, "Yeah, it looks like an eagle," and fills out my paperwork. And then I can drive across the border into the state of Utah. And then as soon as I got into the state of Utah, I had to notify the Fish and Game main office in Salt Lake, drive to southern Utah, notify the regional office here in southern Utah, get a second vet check for the Department of Agriculture here in Utah, and then I was issued a band to put on his leg, and then he became my friend. So this is not a simple process that just anybody can do. But Scout and I have been together now 17 years, and so it's hard to imagine after 17 years my life without him. He's such a dear friend.
So we've got sort of two requests that have come up. One here is from Paula. She says, "I was hoping that Martin had something in his pocket that Scout could steal, and congratulations
Ah,
on a long time together." And then also here, M127 agrees, says, "Yes, regarding Paula's comment, I think Martin should get some fake glasses for Scout to sneak from his pocket."
should I get you a pair of fake glasses to steal from me? You thought that was a lot of fun, huh? Yes, you did. Yes, you're such a good boy.
We've also
Yeah.
gotten a few more donations. Trina Wright donated $50, and then two anonymous people donated a fiver and a 20. Oh, and more. Stage True donated five, and then DM came back with another 10. And I
Well,
said
thank you.
DM, and I say DM when I give initials. It's because I don't want to brutalize somebody's name. So just DM. That's good.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody so much. Like I said, your kindness and your generosity truly is what allows Susan and I to do what we do here at our foundation. And so anyway, that was the process that we went through to get Scout, to get him here to Utah legally. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, why didn't you just take him to Utah and then turn him loose? And the reason that cannot be done is that birds of prey, certainly eagles as well, all birds of prey, they're hardwired in their brain to migrate out and then to return to where they learned to fly. And so, since he was a fully flighted semi-adult golden eagle, um, if we were to just turn him loose here in Utah, he would immediately fly back to Wyoming, and he would be back in that situation where his life was in danger. And so the agreement with the Wyoming Fish and Game and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is that we go up, we rescue him, we bring him back here to Utah, and he is never ever allowed to fly back to Wyoming because that puts him back in danger. And so most eagles in this kind of a situation, if they're rescued, um, the eagle will be put in a zoological facility in a large flight chamber, and he will be left there for the rest of his life, never being allowed to fly free, never being allowed to hunt, never being allowed to be an eagle. He'll just be basically an exhibit bird or an education bird. Um, because um, I am a licensed master eagle falconer, I can have the bird for my not only my education but also for my falconry. And so Scout has the opportunity to fly free. He goes thousands of feet in the sky. He flies with the wild eagles, and he follows me as I flush out rabbits for him to catch. So Scout has the opportunity to fly like an eagle, to hunt like an eagle, and still be available as a wildlife ambassador for education. So he has kind of the best of both worlds. Now he is 19, 20 years old. Like I said, he's just we got him as a sub-adult. Full adult's 5 years, and so he was a sub-adult. Now the average age of a golden eagle in the wild is about 20 years, and so he's an old man. As far as wild eagles are concerned, he's a definitely an old eagle, but in captivity we can literally double, even sometimes triple that. And so the odds of him living, 50, 60 years, if all goes well, is quite good. And so, as far as a golden eagle in captivity as a falconry bird, this guy will easily outlive me. And so that's kind of a scary thought, but I will treasure every second that I have with him. There aren't very many people in the world that can say they're one of their very, very best friends on the planet is a wild golden eagle, and I'd have the privilege to be able to say that.
So you've mentioned that at 5 they're an adult and they don't like in their main features they don't really have any changes after that point. But having lived so close to Scout, can you talk about like any little tiny subtle changes you've noticed over the years in either like his appearance or his behavior?
Well, yeah, the behavior changes again at around 5 years. They start acting like an adult, um, which in late winter, early spring, they start going through some courtship behaviors and those kinds of things. And so we certainly see that where prior to 5 we don't see that. Um, as far as the look of Scout, I could put a picture of Scout at 5 years. I could put a picture of Scout at 15 years and a picture of Scout at 20 years, and they would virtually look identical. Because they really don't go through any color changes as long as the environment is good and their feathers are kept clean, and he's got his bath pans to bathe in, and he's good and healthy. It would be really, really hard to tell if he was a 5-year eagle or a 20-year-old eagle in within his life. So there really is so very, very few differences. um, I would probably say that the biggest change as far as personality and stuff goes is that he is, let's just say, more attached. Um, even though when he was 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, he was a dear friend. But it's like my sweet wife Susan. This last February, we celebrated our 45th wedding anniversary, and so why that beautiful young lady's put up with me for 45 years, I have no idea, but I'm so incredibly grateful. And there are very, very small bonding things between Susan and I that I can honestly say we didn't have in our 20s or our 30s. And so they're a little more patient, a little more acceptance. If that makes any sense. And so I see the same thing with Scout. There's a little more bonding, a little more patience, Um, you know, even though it's a routine, you got to go after the pocket and see if the glasses are there. Mm. Even though it's very much a routine, but we do see a closeness with someone that's worked with an eagle, for 17 years versus an eagle that you've worked with for 3 or 4.
So we've got some more donations coming in, and as soon as we went live, my dogs just decided to bark like crazy. So I don't know if Scout's hearing that or not. Classical Music donated $100. Nicholas donated $50.
Well, thank you, Classical Music, and thank you for Nicholas. That's incredibly kind of you. Again, we're so excited that all of you have been so kind and generous, and our new wildlife rescue facility is finally moving, and I should talk about that for just a minute here. We've gotten over all of the really big obstacles. Where we've got the property secured. We have got the Eagle flight chamber. It's a 40-foot by 100-foot flight chamber. The building's delivered. It's not erected yet. We have hired a contractor who has taken over the project for us, and he has been working on getting all the permits and paperwork in line so that we can start the build. And so this spring, we unless something goes wrong this spring, we will start putting up our new wildlife rescue center. Because of all of you, we've raised the money for it. Um, if you were to ask me 3 years ago, have we raised all the money we need? I would say we've raised all the money plus. Now with inflation and all that kind of stuff, I can't say that quite as confidently. Um, I don't know if we've got all the money we need yet or now because of inflation, but we're pretty darn close. If not, and the contractor that I'm working with has been very, very good at helping us uh, design and work with things to try to keep the costs down. So keep your fingers crossed, everybody. Our new Enoch Wildlife Rescue Center, I I'm really hopeful that it will be functional and ready to start accepting animals this fall. So tremendously excited. Well, thank you. Yes, you know he truly is a dear friend, and you know it's been a life's opportunity to have been able to have an eagle as my best friend, and so that's, well, I should say second best friend. Susan's my best friend, but he's my second best friend.
Okay, and Joyce says, how do you become a wildlife rehab worker or volunteer? I'm 75, but have always been interested in ornithology and wildlife. I'm near Pocatello, Idaho, in senior housing.
Okay, well, here's what you have to do. You have to find uh, a federally and state licensed wildlife rescue facility that you can volunteer at. And to be honest with you, when somebody comes and wants to volunteer for us, it's primarily, we have vegetation to plant, we have trees to plant, um, we have trash cans to empty, we have yards to rake, and it's mostly volunteer labor kinds of stuff. Uh, and once you have worked in that kind of a situation, and sometimes it's for multiple years, um, then if they need somebody to say, okay, I need an extra pair of hands to hold this animal for me while I do this, change these bandages, or give them this medication, or whatever the deal is, and you've proven your dependability, then you start moving into kind of helping a little bit with the actual animals. And there are both state and federal licenses that you must acquire in order to do that kind of work. Um, so it's tremendously time consuming, and but the honest truth of the matter is the most important volunteers are the volunteers that are social media people that can basically watch our YouTube videos and tell all their friends about who we are. It's people who love who we are that say, well, I know this. There's this gentleman who rescues wildlife in Utah, and I have this friend that is really big into wildlife rescue. Let me contact my friend and see if my friend can help, either financially or help through making connections. And so it's all of you who are out there, not in Utah, um, that can be. We can produce an army of volunteers to help promote our wildlife foundation, to help us raise money and raise awareness of the work we do. And that's, to be honest with you, that's the most important work, is to get everybody to spread the word that wildlife rescue is important.
Okay, we've got another comment here. Scout is a beautiful eagle. Always enjoy and learn from your videos, Martin.
Well, thank you. And yes, he is a pretty boy, and it's just hard to imagine to have a big wild eagle like this. And he is a big boy. Now, in golden eagle terms, the females are a third larger than the males. And so a female golden eagle on average is about 9 to 13 pounds, there in that range somewhere. The males are about 5 to 9 pounds, in that range somewhere. And so he is an 8+ pound golden eagle. And so he's a big boy. He's a big male. And when we first got him, it was, I think this is a male, but I'm not absolutely positive because of his size. And so over the time that we've had him, we know he's a male. We have no doubt of that. But he is really a big boy, and he's very, very powerful, and just a joy to work with. But he can be a dangerous animal to work with. I mean, these feet that you see right here. Let me show you his pretty feet. Show me your pretty feet, big guy. Okay. 600 pounds per square inch of crushing power in those feet. He can, if he wants to, drive his talons through the glove and crush the small bones in my hand. So it's really good. He likes me. People ask me all the time, you're nose to nose with this wild eagle. Are you ever afraid that he's going to bite you? And the honest truth of the matter is no. I'm not afraid at all, because the truth of the matter is, if Scout were to reach up and rip my nose off, there's nothing on the planet I could do to stop him. And so if there's nothing I can do about it, don't worry about it. The thing that keeps me safe is my comfort with him and his comfort with me. I don't look like a rabbit. I don't look like food, and he feels safe with me. So there's really uh, no reason for him to hurt me. But if he does hurt me, it's my fault. It is never his fault. Uh, I have chosen to bring him into my captivity, and so anything that happens, um, I'm to blame, not him. And that's the way we should treat all animals.
So another comment, this one from Stay True, says, "Hello, I was trying to leave a message with my donation. I would like to come by and see some eagles. It would be a pleasure." Then this CUAUHTLU, I don't know if they say that, means eagle in the language of my ancestors.
Well, wonderful. The truth of the matter is, give me a call, and we'll try to set up a time that you could come by. Um, if you want to see um, a lot of eagles, our bald eagles migrate in here about mid-November, and they're here through about mid-March. And so you can drive around this area and look in any uh, large cottonwood tree groups around, um, you know, the Cedar Valley, the Parowan Valley, up around Beaver. Anyway, there's several places in this area, and they like to roost in these big cottonwood trees. And it's not uncommon to see 10, 15, 20 bald eagles all roosting in the trees first thing in the morning before it warms up and they go fly. And so I can certainly point you in a direction to go do some eagle watching.
Albert Hall says, "How can I watch scout hunt for rabbits, etc.? Is there a video link you can provide?"
Well, right now I don't have a lot of videos of scout hunting rabbits. We're hopefully going to change that. And the reason we don't have a lot of videos of scout hunting with rabbits is Scout is uh, a little bit temperamental about having strange people out in the field when he's hunting. He considers it his territory. He actually did go after a photographer that kind of ticked him off, and so Scout and I have always gone out in the field, just the two of us, um, because he can be a dangerous animal, and so he and I go out, and it's just he and I all by ourselves. But I'm hoping, I won't guarantee anything. I'm hoping, I just purchased a new camera because I can't photograph and work the eagle at the same time, and so I've just purchased this. This is a an action cam that sits that you wear like a pair of glasses, and I'm hoping that this will be able to get some good video this winter. You want to see what that is, Scout? Are you going to tear that off my head when I wear it? But anyway, hopefully I'll be able to get more videos of the wildlife rescue work that I do, where I don't have to have somebody videoing me while I'm doing my work, and videos of training some of the birds that we work with throughout the year. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm really hopeful this will be good. I've got a GoPro, and though the GoPro takes wonderful pictures, the problem with the GoPro is it either sits on my chest right here, or it sits on my head, or it sits on my arm, and so it's just not convenient to the bird is always flying so in a different location than what the GoPro could pick up, and so you actually have to have somebody with the camera going around behind you focusing uh, to get the videos. So keep your fingers crossed, guys, that this will help get some better videos for us.
Nicholas says, "The gold band around his nape that gives them the name Golden Eagles."
That is true. Well, the bald eagle has the white head, and that's why they call him a bald eagle. The golden eagle has golden feathers back here on the nape of his neck, and that's where he gets the name golden eagle from. And so he's got a nice golden nape. He's really, as far as a golden eagle is concerned, he's very, very kind of typical. I've had golden eagles where the golden nape goes all the way down to their tail, down the back. And I've had other ones that had just a few gold feathers right on the top of their head, but that's about it. And so they can vary, just like we vary in size and looks and those kinds of things. The eagles can as well. And a lot of people say, well, can I tell my eagle from any other eagle? And I says, of course. I can tell my son and my daughter, and I can tell my grandkids from every other child on the planet. They're little significant differences, and that a parent sees, and little significant differences that I see with my eagle.
Yeah, but from how far? If Scout was like way out flying with other eagles, could you still pick him out?
Well, the truth of the matter is, when Scout is soaring with the other eagles, I'm guessing. He's flying free. There might be two or three eagles soaring the ledges north of town, and you kind of look up there and says, well, maybe the one to the right is mine, but it's really hard to tell which is my eagle. And the fun thing is, when he's out soaring with the wild eagles, um, you look up at the sky, you're trying to figure out what eagle is yours, and what always crosses my mind is, as he's flying with his friends, you wonder what they're talking about. to see my eagle soaring with his buddies. I can see my eagle looking over at his friends and saying, "Watch this. I have a trained human. All I have to do is drift out over that guy's head, and he'll run out through the desert with a stick, hitting bushes, flushing out rabbits for me to catch." And I will. Because Scout is the hunter, and I'm his dog. And as long as I'm a really good dog, he'll keep me. Isn't that right? I'm a good dog for you.
Jada asks, do you have a plan for someone to care for your birds if there comes a time when you cannot do so?
You know, with the building of the new facilities, and right now our really big push is to get the foundation financially secure. Um, we're trying to open a trust fund that we've got a piece of property that we're selling, and we want to put all the money in the trust fund that bears interest, so that the day in and day out activities for our wildlife rescue facility can be paid for on interest. The trust fund never touch the principal. That's the goal. And if we can get um, the foundation sufficiently financed, um, then we'll be able to hire people to do what I do. And so that's really the goal, is to get our foundation secured financially, so that even if something happens to myself or happens to Susan, and we're no longer able to run the foundation, that the foundation will continue on into perpetuity. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay, Robert C. says, Martin, are you ever concerned Scout will fly away? Apologies if this question has already been asked. Robert on a narrow boat in the UK Midlands.
Robert, I don't worry about Scout flying away, for the simple fact that he has the right to do so. And so I do not own him. He, like I said, he flies free. He flies with the wild eagles. He flies through the courtship season, which is about mid-January through March is the courtship season, and we fly him all the way through February. And so, if he finds a pretty little lady eagle that's cuter than I am, he will fly away and never come back. And he has the right to do so. He and I have been together for like 17 years, and he hasn't left me yet, uh, which is absolute proof that I'm adorable. And so, he's a dear friend. But yes, every time he flies, he has the right to leave, and that's how it should be. Um, if Scout does leave, it'll break my heart to lose my dear friend, but I don't own him, and I would never ever want to own him. He is a free and wild bird, and he has the right to be that.
So this goes back to when you were talking about Scout size. B asks, maybe being well cared for in captivity has caused Scout to grow larger than he would have grown as a wild animal.
Well, actually, that's not really true, because when we trapped him, he was full. They're full grown at 12 weeks of age when they first start flying. They're as big as they'll ever get, and though they do develop, more muscles and put on a little bit of weight, but generally speaking, they're full grown at about 12 weeks. And so an eagle that's 2 to 3 years of age, that's it. They're certainly not going to get any bigger than that. And even though he's in captivity here and he gets a really really high quality diet, um, that really does very little as far as his size is concerned. Um, so he is just genetically a larger male golden eagle than average.
Okay, B also says, have you ever trained falconry birds? Have you had them leave with a wild mate during mating season like that or heard of such a case?
Well, I have not. personally had a falconer bird leave to find a mate. That's never happened to me personally. Um, though there are several falconer birds that are highly migratory. I can think of a Merlin falcon as a good example. Most falconers will trap a Merlin falcon in the fall. They'll fly through the winter, but by the time spring comes along, the drive to migrate is so strong. If you continue to fly them, they're gone. And then you don't plan on keeping some of the predatory birds. You don't plan on keeping them for an extended period of time because their natural instincts are just so strong. It just pulls them away. Um, but you know, uh, Scout has every right to go back to Wyoming, uh, but um, he's bonded to me, so he stays here. Now, if he finds a pretty little lady eagle and decides that he doesn't like me anymore, he's going to bond to the female that's in the area. He will bond to her and he will stay, so he won't go back to Wyoming. And so that'll be a good thing. But he'll never come back to me again. He'll just say, I don't need you. I've got my girlfriend. To heck with you. You know, we're going to live our own lives.
Do you think Scout's behavior or manner or maybe even attitude has changed at all during presentations over all these years?
He has. Um, he is when when we do our wildlife shows, and we do 100 plus shows every year with him, and a lot of school programs and community event programs and scout programs and so on. Um, he's become very accustomed to doing these kinds of programs, and he knows that he is literally the star of the show, and so I when it's just Scout and I, and we're just hanging around the house, hanging around the yard, just kind of visiting and feeding him and just bonding that we do every day. Um, I notice his personality changes a little bit when we're standing before an audience, and he seems to kind of like to ham it up a little bit. He is, you can see right now he's just being really good, and there's not 100, 200, 300 people out in front of me right now, and so Scout is just being Scout, and he's just kind of hanging out like we normally do. But when there's an audience, um, he gets a little bit more playful. That's when he wants to steal my glasses. That's when he wants to rip buttons off my shirt. That's when I used to have a mustache, and he would pluck the hairs out of my mustache, and he would do all of these things to tease me. And he just thought it was very, very funny. The audience thought it was funny, and he thought it was funny too to be a bit of a tease. And so I do see some personality changes when Scott and I are in front of a group.
Okay, Maureen says Scout is beautiful. The rehab work you do is absolutely appreciated. Enjoy watching your YouTube rescues, especially when there is a positive outcome. We'll send a donation later today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and it really does mean a lot to Susan and I personally that that people appreciate what it is that we do. Um, you know, like I said, um, we don't get support certainly from state or federal governments. I think they should be a little more supportive of this kind of work, but they're not. And so it's people like you that understand that caring for sick, injured, orphaned wild animals is not my occupation. It is my life's work, and it feels good when people tell me that they appreciate the efforts that we put in to care for the critters. So thank you.
Quick Dog 33 says, have you ever had Scout's DNA tested to show for sure he is a male?
I have not had him DNA tested, but I know for a fact he is a male because he demonstrates male courtship behavior as an adult. And so, yeah, there's no doubt that he's a male, and no need to do the DNA tests. In fact, I'm a little cautious about that because there have been a couple of situations where um, uh, people like myself that either has educational birds or wildlife rescues. We have had situations where a university or a lab wants to do a little DNA testing, some research work, and those kinds of things, which I'm 100% behind. I think that's wonderful. But we have had a few situations where, you know, uh, where a scientific group has contacted, like I said, either a falconer or a captive breeder, um, a wildlife rehabilitator, and says, I'm very interested. Is there, can we take a blood sample and do some DNA testing on your bird for our database? Keep it on the plastic, sir. Hurry up. Hurry up. Thank you. That's very polite. Anyway, and then the Fish and Wildlife Services finds out about it, and they get all upset because the bird is not on a scientific permit, it's on a rehab permit, or it's on an education permit, or it's on a falconry permit, and they will, cause a lot of grief because you stepped outside of the permit by allowing them to use the bird for a scientific research project. Does that make sense? And so you really have to be careful to cross your T's and dot your I's, everything that you do with these guys, um, because if you don't get permission, even for the smallest thing, uh, you can be in big trouble.
Do you run into a lot of issues where people just see Scout as like a number or a study? They don't really see him as an individual or with a personality and all that?
Well, yeah, and that's, to be honest with you, that has a lot to do with how both state and federal government sees wildlife in general. I've been told on many an occasion that we are not interested in individual specimens. We are interested in whole species and habitat. And so, an animal that is injured and brought into a wildlife rescue facility, that is biologically insignificant as far as the state and federal government is concerned. Though I completely disagree with that. I think each and individual animal, just like each and individual human, should be treated with love and respect and kindness and care. Um, all animals we should do the same thing with, and not look at them as a whole species, but as individuals. Um, and so yes, they are not a lot of effort put into um, seeing the animals as individuals.
So we've still got some more donations to note. Andy from Ollie donated 20,
Thank
and
you, Andy.
uh, C donated 5. Somebody anonymously donated $200.
Oh wow. Well, see,
And
thank you for the five. And Anonymous, thank you for the 200. That's incredibly generous.
and
And
another anonymous donation for 20.
oh, and thank you, Anonymous, for 20. That is wonderful. That that feeds these animals. All of you guys' kindness, all that money really goes into either new facilities, veterinary supplies and bills, or food for the animals. So, we're grateful for your kindness. It means a lot.
And we should note that during this live stream, since we're an official nonprofit organization, YouTube gives us 100% of your donation.
Yes, and we're very grateful for that too. And so you don't have to worry. And not only does YouTube give us 100%, but since we are a 501c3 nonprofit, we don't pay taxes on your donations. So every single penny goes to caring for the wildlife. So that's a great thing.
Okay, we got some more comments from Alberts. For a free and wild bird, Scout seems very content and happy to happily perch on your glove. Sweet.
Well, these are incredibly intelligent creatures, and so you know, he is a friend. Now, that's not why he comes back to me. He doesn't come back to me because he's my friend. He comes back to me because he exploits me, because I make his life easier. He has a very easy food source. He's got a very comfortable environment in which to live in. And so he really has kind of the royal treatment. He gets the best of everything that we can possibly afford to give him, plus time to exercise. So that's why he comes back. But they do bond, and the birds of prey, the hawks, the falcons, the eagles, the owls, if handled appropriately, will build a very, very unique bond with the human that cares for them. And so, yeah, Scout is truly a dear friend.
Daniela Paul says, hello, all greetings from Germany.
Oh well, greetings from Germany. Thank you. I appreciate it. It just amazes me when I get people from all over the world, that watch these things and people say hi. Um, you, you know, I'm a dumb critter guy, and I can't even comprehend how all of this technology works. But I'm grateful that it does, so that I can visit with such wonderful people everywhere.
So Scout was just biting at your pocket. Did you not even notice that?
No, I felt the tug and that kind of. He's just being silly. He's just playing. But like I said, he's just being a little silly, and he does that to get my attention. He says, you're not petting me, you're not looking at me, you're not talking to me. Who are you talking to? There's not anyone here in the room. There's nobody to look at. So that's how he gets a little attention by kind of picking at things to say, hey, I'm right here. I'm the center of your world.
Trina Wright asks, how much does Scout eat in a day?
He eats a good pound of animal every day. Now, notice I didn't say meat, I said animal. And so a pound of rat, a pound of mice, a pound of quail, a pound of rabbit. And so he eats the bones, the fur, the feathers, the guts, the brains, everything in order for him to have a balanced diet. And so meat is a very, very inappropriate diet. It doesn't have the nutrition necessary. He has to eat whole animals.
SoCal asks, do eagles fight over territory?
The only time eagles fight over territory is during the nesting season. And so that's one of the issues that we have when the eagles start to pair bond here. Um, it's usually about the time that I have to bring Scout out of the sky and not fly him anymore, because once they are pair bonded, and we have a lot of golden eagle pairs in this area, um, they will start to defend a territory, and which means that they would drive Scout out of their territory. And so we can fly them up to the courtship, and then once they have pair bonded and establish a territory, then we can't fly him here anymore, because we don't want him to get harassed by the wild pair of eagles that are defending territory.
Okay, it looks like one of our anonymous donors is coming clean. Cheryl O says the $20 was for me. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. That's so very kind. We appreciate it.
And Patty says, Martin, do you watch the live eagle cams? In Florida, a male eagle named M15 has successfully raised his two eaglets as a single dad.
I don't, and the honest truth of the matter is, I get several phone calls, all late winter, early spring, with people watching the eagle cams, and and to be honest with you, I don't see a lot of time to sit down and watch the eagle cams when I'm out here monitoring the eagle nests personally. And so I would much rather, sit on a cliff across the canyon with my binoculars and my spotting scopes, monitoring my eagles here, than sit in the living room on a computer watching an eagle cam. That has very little interest to me. But I do end up looking at the cams occasionally when people call up and says, "Oh, we've got a crisis. Can you look at this?" And I'll look at that, and I tell them all the same thing, that I'm 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles away. You need to contact your state fish and game and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to get someone to help, because I'm too far away to help.
So we're getting near our well, your 1 o'clock hour, my 12 o'clock hour, as far as an hour live. But I thought maybe we've had some questions about how everybody else is doing. So I thought I'd maybe run our little video about the other wildlife ambassadors.
Sure.
If you would like to learn all about our wildlife ambassadors, Scout the Golden Eagle, Belle the Harris Hawk, and Helen the Peregrine Falcon, please visit their pages at our site. Click on the Wildlife Ambassadors link to see all of them. There is information about their arrival and training, as well as video playlists, fully downloadable biographies, and glam shots. You can even download an MP3 file of Belle the Harris Hawk yelling at Cody the Frisbee ambassador.
Well,
So yeah, definitely lots of Belle. But today is Scout Day, right?
today is Scout Day, and so yeah, we wanted to focus on Scout. He's certainly our star, and so yeah, this is Scouts and my 17th anniversary, and so it's fun, it's unique. It's a special day for us. Um, Last night we had one of our wildlife shows to do together, and it's just hard to imagine that he and I have been best friends for 17 years, and we hope to double that at least. Um, so we've got a long road ahead of us between he and I.
Okay, so the last few notes here. Bubba says you should keep a pair of toy glasses in your pocket.
I've had a few people tell me that, and you know what? That might be fun to put some just cheap, dollar reader glasses in my pocket to give something Scout to play with when we do shows. So I'll definitely consider that.
You should
Um,
get is like the magicians have the handkerchief that keeps like coming out. What if you did that? Would he keep pulling out on that thing?
well, the only thing I worry about that is if he happens to swallow some of it,
Ah, yeah.
where the glasses are too big for him to swallow, and the only thing he can do with them is throw them. Not, he can't. They can't hurt him.
Okay. Michelle says if Scout was released, could he successfully survive on his own?
He could successfully survive on his own. He's certainly capable of catching his own food and those kinds of things. And we've been together long enough. I don't know that he would go back to Wyoming now, but he certainly could. But the thing that about him at this point in time is, like I said, a 20. The average life expectancy of a golden eagle is average about 20 years in the wild. So he's kind of an old man, and so just like the rest of us, you know, when I was 20, my fitness level was significantly higher. Now that I'm in my late 60s, I just don't climb cliffs and jump fences and do the things that I used to nearly as well as I used to. And so, at his age, I don't really see any real issues with his fitness and his performance. But I'm certainly in the next few years, I'm certainly that we will start seeing his fitness levels decline a little bit. And it just takes a small fraction of loss of fitness to where he cannot successfully survive in the wild. So basically, it's my hope that he and I will just be friends until I pass away, and once that happens, the federal government will come and confiscate him within 10 days of my death because I'm the only.
Uh-oh, Martin has frozen up on us. So let's wait a minute and see if he comes back. And so what I'll do is I'll run a little video of the old school days with Scout Martin that I took back in 2016.
Hey, babe. How's my boy? How's my Scout? Hi, baby. Oh, sweetie. Come here, come here, Jess. There's one. There's the other one. I know. I like it. There we go. All right. Get comfy. Here, my puppy. You got a feather in your mouth. Let me see. Okay, I got it. Got it out of the way. Such a good boy. Such a baby. Yes, you are. My boy. Is it better that I'm here with you? He always feels a lot more secure when I'm close to him, because I'm his security. Huh. Am I your security? Feel better? Because you know I won't let anybody hurt you? Because you're my bud? No, you gotta stay here. We're not gonna go from the perch for a minute. Stay right here. Let's go stay right here. They want to get a picture of you. I know. There's a stranger outside your chamber. Says that's not right. That's not right. Strangers aren't supposed to be outside my chamber. Yes, I know. I know. Stranger in your chamber. That's my boy. Such a good boy. Such a good baby, huh? Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Such a good boy. Yeah, you know, it's hard for people to realize, to be able to say one of your dearest friends is a wild golden eagle is just, it's more of an honor than anything else to have his trust and confidence in me. And, Scout, that beak is designed to rip large chunks of flesh. And so certainly if he wanted to, he could certainly reach up and rip my nose off. These can be dangerous animals to work with, but he is very sweet and very gentle with me. 600 PSI, those feet. Can I show me your feet, sweetie? I know. Yes, I know. Come here. Let me show me your feet. Look at those beautiful feet. That's what he kills with. He can drive those talons through my glove and crush the small bones in my hand. It's really good he likes me. And as I said before, of all the birds of prey in the world, if handled properly, a golden eagle is one of the sweetest and gentlest and most affectionate of all the birds of prey. If handled inappropriately, this is an 8-pound animal that'll put you in the hospital on a regular basis. So you never want to offend your eagle. Huh. Yes, you're a good boy. Such a good boy. Such a pretty talk.
Enoch Wildlife Rescue is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to wildlife rescue, rehabilitation, and education. If you would like to make a donation, please visit our site. There are all kinds of ways to help listed on our donations page. One of the best ways to directly contribute is by helping with food for critters. Easiest way to help there is with a Rodent Pro gift certificate. You can call Rodent Pro and all they need is our email address, info@gowildlife.org. You are also welcome to purchase Martin's book, Healer of Angels. If you purchase directly from our site, you get a copy signed by Martin, Susan, and Scout. For our international friends, because of shipping issues, we've also made unsigned copies of the book available on Amazon and through Kindle. If you would like to learn all about our wildlife ambassadors, Scout the Golden Eagle, Belle the Harris Hawk, and Helen the Peregrine Falcon, please visit their pages at our site. Click on the Wildlife Ambassadors link to see all of them. There is information about their arrival and training, as well as video playlists, fully downloadable biographies and glam shots. You can't even download an MP3 file of Belle the Harris Hawk yelling at Cody the Frisbee ambassador. Okay, well, sorry guys, we didn't get Martin back, so we'll go ahead and conclude. Thanks, everything. That's just the Web Geek signing out. Just me. Whatevers. Laters.